Where Colin was wrong.
I thought Geno Smith to the Raiders, I don't have a problem with it, but reportedly he's going to get $40 to $45 million. That's a big contract. He's never won a playoff game. Last year, 21 TDs, 15 picks. Sam Darnold, criticize him all you want, signed a team-friendly deal, and he's 7 years younger and more athletic. So I don't have a problem with Geno Smith making them, going to Seattle. I kind of like it for Pete Carroll, but I didn't think he had another $45 million a year contract in it.
Yeah. I think obviously in a perfect world, you'd get less money. The Raiders would pay him less money. Obviously. I don't think that that's the worst contract because as we know, things are going higher. So signing like a $40 million contract is essentially will be very similar to like the $30 million Baker Mayfield contract, 30 each year that he signed with the Buccaneers. So I think the Raiders were in a position where they've lacked such stability that sometimes bringing in a Geno Smith, even if you're overpaying him, even if you're not going to win at the levels that you ultimately want to win at, bringing in stability and showing that you actually have the opportunity to win. This is also a big thing that Pete Carroll's saying. He's saying, I trust this guy, and this guy's important to what we're trying to build. Because this is not just about short term, this is long term. I've talked about this a lot with the Raiders. It's this balance between them figuring out the short term and the long term. They obviously care about the short term. They are obviously trying to win. They're not just trying to just be like, all right, we're trying to rebuild and do a little bit of this, and in 2-3 years we're going to be better. They're like, no, we want to be relevant today, but we also are trying to, create a new Raiders culture. We're trying to create something new here, essentially, right? We are in Las Vegas. We've been here for a little bit, but not really at the end of the day. We need to build something finally, right? We brought in Tom Brady. We brought in Pete Carroll, brought in Chip Kelly. We need something today, tomorrow, and, and thereafter. And so it is. It's a juggling act right now, what the Raiders are doing. But I think it's good. I think it's good because it's tough. When you've kind of had the seasons that the Raiders have had, if you bring in a quarterback, right? If you brought in let's say a Daniel Jones for $25 million a year or something, or 20, like a Justin Fields type deal that they made with the Jets, and you let a Max Crosby walk or whatever, and you get some draft picks, or I guess you can't let him walk, but you move him or whatever, and you do some of that stuff. Your team is probably going to continue to be inconsistent. You're going to be a mess. Are you going to have a great win or two next season? I'm sure you'll pull off something that sounds pretty great, beating the Ravens, beating the Chiefs or something, but it won't feel like you're actually building anything. And even if you have a couple games that you really piece together that seem like, oh wow, this team's maybe better than we thought, no one's really going to believe that you're going to be able to make a run at the playoffs. And so you're not making a run in the playoffs. You're not building for the future. So then it's so then what the heck are you doing? You just continue to be a mess. Free agents aren't going to want to go there. The great players that you do have are not going to be interested in staying. It just you're not going to acquire good talent, even just from a coaching standpoint, front office standpoint. This starts to put you in the right direction, so you can really start to point and say, we are getting better, we are growing, we are evolving. And if you need to pay a Geno Smith a little bit more than you would have typically would have liked, then I think that's totally fair game. Now, like I've said now in multiple Raiders videos, I do think the play would have been Sam Darnold, because now you do get him cheaper, and he is younger, and then that really kind of helps out. But I still think the amount of money that you're paying Geno Smith is also money well spent, because you're most likely also going to draft a quarterback. And I think Geno Smith, considering and I don't know and I'm not saying necessarily this season, but maybe the next, or during his contract, during his time with the Raiders, because he's obviously older, I think Geno Smith will be an absolute awesome mentor to have someone to draft some young quarterback and have him sit behind. There's not a doubt in my mind. by all reports, Geno Smith is just an awesome person. There's a reason why he's lasted so long and was given so many chances in the NFL. People absolutely love him. He's now been all over. He's had such fascinating experiences within the NFL that he is just going to be an absolute wealth of experience that you bring in a quarterback. You will be able to just learn immensely from him. And that's worth a lot. That's worth a lot. Andy Reid, Mahomes, etc., they have all come out and said how crucial Alex Smith was for Mahomes' development. That sitting behind specifically Alex Smith benefited him significantly. And I just think that's where the Raiders are as well. That's why I'm talking about they're planning for today and tomorrow. And so I think it ends up being a positive. I really do. Again, is it the most optimal thing to win right now or to even win tomorrow? Not necessarily, but it gives them still, I feel as though, a lot of freedom. And like I said, if they need to pivot, Geno Smith either plays great and that's awesome, and then you're still getting him in a major discount. And if not, then you'll still be able to pivot in a way that does not back you into a corner. Especially if he's not playing well, that means you're losing. That means you're going to have a higher draft pick. You're going to be able to draft a young quarterback, not feel that there's a rush to get him out there. You'll be able to have him have him learn behind Geno. Like it is very a smooth transition, quite frankly. It works very well. So I feel the level of paths that the Raiders can walk down seem to be many, and all the paths that they can walk down to seem to be set up for them to be efficient and successful. Because like I said, all of this feels very intentional. And when you're not just guessing and making stuff up, then that's great. When you were making some of those deals and being like, oh, we'll try Aiden O'Connell, we'll try Gardner Minshew, we'll try this, oh, let's move on from Derek Carr, let's get this coach. It wasn't very intentional. And that's why you got messy results, And now everything feels intentional. Even if it doesn't work, it's still with the greater goal that the Raiders seem very much unified in trying to accomplish. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the actual money itself. I also think that there's real potential that Geno Smith himself, considering what Seattle was doing offensively and the limitations that he had, I think Geno Smith was very impressive in a lot of games, considering what was given to him. And I'm excited to see what he could do with a Chip Kelly, what he can do with some extra pieces with, that the Raiders give him. And, I would not be surprised because Colin's like, oh, you only had 21 touchdowns or, whatever the official number was. I would not be shocked. And in fact, I'm anticipating that Geno Smith has arguably his best year with the Raiders than he did in Seattle. So that's what I'm expecting. Whether that'll be necessarily this season or the season after, that depends on what they continue to do throughout, the draft, free agency, et cetera, et cetera. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the amount of money that they'll be paying Geno and what it means for the Raiders as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.